We turn our attention to a landmark ruling that has sent ripples across Nigeria's political and, well, legal landscape. The Federal High Court has sentenced the IPOB leader Nnamdi Kanu to life imprisonment after a prolonged terrorism trial that has shaped national conversations for years. The ruling has triggered mixed reactions from legal minds, political observers, and communities across the Southeast, many of whom have waited anxiously for clarity on this long-running case. As expected, the implications of this judgment, well, they go far beyond the courtroom. They touch on issues of national cohesion, public trust in the justice system, the politics of separatism, and the future of security operations in the region. For many Nigerians, this is a moment that raises more questions than it does give answers. Well, we are going to begin with a detailed breakdown of the trial and also the verdict. And while we are waiting for our correspondent Joshua Marai, who followed this story all through the week, we have with us here inside of the studio and also joining us via Zoom an array of very interesting guests here. Joining us, Dr. Sam Amadi, Director at Abuja School of Social and Political Thoughts, and also in the studio here with us, Mr. Fred Nzeako, Public Affairs Analyst. Isaac Fayose joins us, Public Affairs Analyst, and also Magaji Mato Ibrahim, Senior Advocate of Nigeria and private legal practitioner. Gentlemen, you are all welcome. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Good morning, gentlemen. I think I would like to start with Mr. Fred, who's right beside me. This verdict and this situation in the court has been ongoing from somebody who I believe can relate to what's going on. Can you just tell us your view of how you feel about this ruling?
Well, the ruling is very controversial, and the controversy didn't start with the judgment. It started all through the trial has been very controversial, starting from the arrest of Nnamdi Kanu way back in 2015. Everything surrounding his detention, his extraordinary rendition, and now all the issues surrounding the trial in court, they have all been marred by controversy. And of course, rightly, as you rightly said, has divided opinion so much, because if we don't go back in history, if we want to stay on the issue of the judgment, there are so many things that have cast that judgment into the realm of controversy, to the extent that some people have viewed it as a travesty of justice and an unexpected happenstance. When you talk about trust in the judicial system and trust in justice delivery, especially with respect to all men being equal before the law, between North and South. There are so many issues, bordering on politics, issues of legality, issues of so many issues, and they have just cast the judgment in seemingly bad light, to the extent that some people believe that even the judge himself, the honorable judge himself, descended into the arena and then left the realm of judgment into the realm of self-opinion. There are so many instances in that regard. Some of his self-opinion, one could say, was in favor of the accused, some against the law, because if, for example, the Anti-Terrorism Act with which he was tried, the defendant said that he was tried with a law that has been repealed. It gets you worried. So there was an Anti-Terrorism Act of 2011, which was repealed in 2022. And then you now ask yourself, which law exactly was he being tried? If it's that of 2022, then is he being tried in retrospect? If it's that of 2011, is he being tried with a repealed law that is no longer alive? That is one aspect of the controversy. The second aspect of controversy, if the law itself has said that the punishment for terrorism is death sentence, does it lie in the opinion of the court to determine whether to issue a life sentence instead of death sentence as prescribed by law? Is he following the law or following his opinion? In this regard, one could say his quotation of the Bible, when has the quotation of the Bible become part and parcel of instrumentality of justice delivery in our law, in a country that we say is a secular country? If you quote the Quran when you are delivering judgment, how would the Christian say it So these are all issues. You limit yourself to the issues of law and not issues of sentiment, self-opinion, or even your faith. And then again, it doesn't lie in the opinion of the court to determine where the convict will serve his sentence. We have correctional services, and there's an act establishing Nigerian prison services, which is now Nigerian Correctional Services. Does it lie in the judge's opinion? Does the judge not usurp the functions of the executive when he says he will be kept in different consignment? And then I was asking myself, would he be kept in Guantanamo Bay or in Robben Island of South Africa? Or is he going to be created a special confinement? That is he a special convict?
You ask very interesting questions here that I think the only person who actually can come after this is Mr. Magaji Ibrahim here, because the questions are all legal. These questions about laws being repealed, or whether it ought to be a death sentence as it was from before, or whether the court has that liberty to make it a life sentence. So, Mr. Magaji, please do tell us if you could answer some of these questions by Mr. Nzeako.
Very much. Thank you for having me around, and then thank you, viewers, for this moment. The trial of Nnamdi Kanu is something that we look at, like my brother just said, from different dimensions. But the truth is, what is unfortunate about the trial is the fact that he was given opportunity to defend himself. He was given opportunity to put down all these arguments that people are making out for him. If the law is a repeal law, this will come from his defense. Unfortunately, somehow, we saw a lapse in the defense. At the time, there were lawyers representing him. Then at a point in time, these lawyers were debriefed, and he himself opted to defend himself. But while we're all waiting for defense, he eventually decided to abandon the defense, and there was nothing placed before the court again on the side of the defense. You see, truly, if the prosecution have brought damning evidences, allegations, including media charts and some document to say, oh, this person has been involved in acts of terrorism or whatever, the expected thing is, constitutionally, is for him to come and say, oh, no, that is not correct. And then bring spurious evidence and arguments in law to say, oh, even the law that you are trying me is a repeal law. But people must learn to understand the operation of the judiciary. The judiciary is just an innocent setting that you are only limited to what is before you. For instance, if the prosecution have brought this as their evidence and they testified, and there is no counter evidence to show that what they did or what they brought before the court for the court to rely on is wrong, there is nothing the judge can do. Unfortunately, even if the judge has an idea of what the truth is, he must only rely on the materials that are placed before him. I am not in any way saying that we're happy that things are playing out like this in the country, especially when you look at it from the sentimental point of view, that you have sessions of people who probably have been involved in different acts of terrorism, and most of them are roaming about freely in the streets, and then you have the gentleman from the southeast, and then he's passing through this. But the truth is, the law is clear. It is the duty of the prosecution to choose who to prosecute, for which offense to prosecute. We cannot choose for them. They can arrest 100 criminals or alleged criminals and decide to go after one. That is the law. Very unfortunately, that is the position of the law. So what has played out is a situation where we have not seen defense, because we needed to see the defense, so we now weigh it side by side to say, oh, this was what the prosecution said, and on the other side, this was what the defense have presented before the court.
So Mr. Ibrahim,
based on this, we'll be able to give our opinion to say that, oh, the judge has erred in this way, the judge has erred in that way. But we have a situation where the only available evidence and defense, and argument is that of the prosecution. You don't have anything from the,
so, Mr. Ibrahim,
defense side.
Mr. Ibrahim, I hate to cut you. So, in your opinion, you do not agree, or do you agree that the court, or rather maybe the judge, might have descended into the realm of personal opinion, like Mr. Nzeako here had noted from before? What's your take on that, very shortly?
Yes, but you see, when it comes to issue of sentencing, there is what we call allocators. When you make an allocators, it is a situation where the side of the convict presents the both side present the historical background and the antecedent of the convict to say, oh, this is a first convict. He has not been doing this. He has not done that. He has conducted himself in such a manner that has shown remorsefulness and the rest. So the judge has some level of discretion to now temper what we call justice with mercy. And that is also within the prerogative of the judge. But where a law specifically mentioned that the offense, social offense, the punishment for social offense is this, actually it is not within the power of the judge to now alter it from that particular offense and from that particular punishment to another punishment. That is never done.
Okay, then,
issue of, yes.
Yeah, we're trying to manage time here and also get all our respondents to actually speak. So do permit us, my apologies. But Queen, go ahead.
Yes, sure. So, Mr. Amadi, I just wanted to ask you what you think right now, the ruling, do you think it has, how is it reshaping the conversation about, federal authority and regional dissent in Nigeria, especially in the southeast?
Okay, thank you very much. Again, I used to be a professor of law, so I understand what's going on here. And I've also practiced Supreme Court in criminal cases. There are three things here. Terrorism is an allegation and a crime against the state. If you look at the charge and the decision, there are no references to the death of Mr. A or B. So this is a case against the states, violence or threat against the state. And that's why it's a political charge, always. And so the question around selective justice comes in. So if I was a lawyer to Fayose in the days of OPC in Lagos, in those days, people were hacked down, killed in the streets of Lagos, just after June 12th, when Abiola was, arrested and all that. Adams or Fayose or Kakayode Gundamasi, all those secretary leaders of OPC, nobody went for trial for terrorism. I was lied to OD and Ogoni Ken Sarawiwa. In 1995, Gado Fawemi, and Ken went for trial for the alleged killing of people for Ogoni. It was political because the government wanted to suppress Ogoni insurrection. Ogoni wanted to say, I remember speaking to Justice Aota, the chairman of the later Chief Justice of the Federal High Court, who told me, Sam, if I was Abacha, I would have dealt with this guy. So the context is Nigeria's politics. The Niger militants didn't face terrorism. I mean, somebody like Governor Tokumelu is not perhaps the richest guy. Asare Dokubo, Tom Ateke is a traditional ruler. So the choice of who to go against in terrorism charge is a political decision and based on the calculus of political convenience. That's number one. Number two is that when we look at justice, it's not just about the technicalities. The arraignment, this is the guy who stood there for 10 years, kept in DSS cell. A judge who handles a case has a control over the matter. He could have remanded him in prison. He never did that. So all the restrictions, there's no way it's a fair hearing. And ultimately, the judge himself, for example, one of the evidence there talks about NSAS. I mean, NSAS started long before Nnamdi Kanu. Even if the broadcast is true, that broadcast did not lead to the killing because NSAS I know the history of NSAS. So this is the point we're getting to. Yes, it's true that he didn't put up a defense, but in criminal charges, you still have to prove the case beyond reasonable doubt. So you are at liberty to say the prosecution has not made a case for me to answer. So he made a no case submission, which the court refused to, or rather denied, and asked him to put his defense. So nevertheless, I don't know why it's a good strategy, but the fact is, these proceedings And I've been reading the judgment, I've not finished it. It's flawed in many ways, and hopefully Konapi can upset it. But the bigger picture is that I fear for Nigeria because my children, daughters, everybody, young people who probably never liked Nnamdi Kanu, who detests his business, and many people don't think that's the right way to go. But they all feel that it's a crime in Nigeria to be Igbo. I mean, look at terrorists in northern Nigeria, Karen self-identifying. Look at even Sheikh Gumi. So the question is, whenever the state, Buhari APC government took extra effort to illegally bring him to the country, took extra effort to keep him when he was gathered before, the Nigerian army went to his village. So that propensity to attack, if they kill a soldier in the southeast, if they mobilize full Nigerians to crush the community, if they kill hundreds of soldiers anywhere in the north, they don't do. So it's a joke. What we do that we are poisoning the mind of the next generation of Igbo. The rift between Nigeria and Igbo people, no matter how our politicians and governors go to Abuja and cover it up, that rift is eternally becoming irreconcilable. So the younger generation are more violently anti-Nigeria because they see it every day. It didn't make sense. Look, I didn't agree. I quarreled publicly with IPOB. I think that the way we should organize ethnic concern about Southeast should be more political. I'm very clear about that. But when you look back at the trial of Nnamdi Kanu, that's why in my broadcast I said the person who was convicted and sentenced is Ndibo. The South is not Nnamdi Kanu. Because if there are 5 criminals, and by the way, terrorism is political. If you decide you can frame any act as terrorist, don't forget that this terrorist act came in the wave of terrorism waves. And so the choice of who to prosecute, what we call prosecutorial discretion, is political. So the SN is right. You don't say because somebody committed this crime, therefore don't prosecute me. But the fact that you chose me and not these other evident cases shows that you are more concerned about me and you are tolerant of others. And in political terms, that's why people say, oh, why people supporting Nnamdi Kanu? No.
Well, Dr. Amadi,
yeah.
Dr. Amadi, there's so much to unpack from everything that you have told here today regarding the mode of the court case itself, and especially that fact about how he was retrieved to Nigeria. We'll come back to that, but I wanted to get something about public perception, the social dynamics here. And let's come to Mr. Isaac Fayose. Mr. Fayose, I'm wondering what you have picked up so far, whether from social media or public sentiments regarding the sentence. And since it was announced, this death sentence, or rather this life imprisonment, what have you picked up? What sentiments have you picked up from people?
I think the judgment is about Igbo. To me, the judgment, look at the guy has been there for 10 years. And there was a court that freed the guy long time ago, and they refused, they didn't allow the guy to go. So it's so easy for them. I think look at what is happening in our country. Is it Nnamdi now? We have made a lot of video advising this APC government how you can use Kanu Nnamdi to, stabilize southeastern Nigeria. Because Kanu is bigger than all the governors from southeast. Kanu Nnamdi is bigger than all the governors in south-south. All those decamping, they are wasting their time with the way they are decamping. They can't even get 100,000 votes. They can't even get anything. They can't even get 100,000 votes. They can't get nothing. But if you convert this guy, use this guy to head of the security team in Southeast, the peace we will be getting there now will be nice.
Mr. Fayose, do we have any precedents of something like this happening before, where somebody who was considered persona non grata was made an authority?
My brother, Wasiu Ayinde Kwamwan, tried to stop a plane. Next day, they made him ambassador. Are you joking? Look at Sunday Igboho Osha. Same thing with Nnamdi. Igboho was in Nigeria about a few months ago. They didn't arrest him. He went around to greet the kings and said, the kings, oh, we've settled it. Talk to the president. Come on. Putting Kanu in jail for life is at a disadvantage to this government and to Nigeria.
So you seem to be pointing to something, and you just mentioned that it's a disadvantage to actually imprison him for life. So what exactly?
Yes, now, because my brother imprisoned Kanu, what value has that had to Igbo land?
What would happen? What do you suspect
Nigeria?
would happen now that he has been given the life sentence? What would happen to the people who
My
see
brother,
him?
is the bitterness continues. How you made the Igbo feel, you made them unwanted, you made them feel unwanted. Look at what is happening in our country now. Look at Boko Haram. Look at kidnapping going on. Gumi or Gimme is going parading, say, oh yeah, educate them, integrate them. They're saying all sorts. Why can't you do the same with Kanu? Why? All the people, okay, let us look at it from a political angle. All the governors, the camping from southeast, south, they only have 10%. Releasing Kanu alone can give APC 90%. My brother, there is a saying in Yoruba, that means as the she they do, which we cannot be doing. Come on, imprison this guy is at a disadvantage to our nation, not a plus. If he had free Kanu, it would have healed a lot of wounds from southeast. A lot of people have been happy, and it will have calmed that region. Southeast will have been at peace right now. But with this one now, do you think the sit-at-home will stop? No. Do you think the insecurity in Southeast will go down? No. You are adding more to the problem. You don't understand? You understand what I mean? Not at this point.
Mr. Fayose, thank you.
The guy has been there 10 years. 10 years. 10 years. It's frustrating. You can see his aggression. You can understand why he's angry. Look at Samuel Ekpa. It took that government 9 months to finalize and round up everything. But Kanu, 10 years.
All right, Mr. Fayose.
You can see why this guy said, no, I'm debriefing my legal team because he's frustrated.
Mr. Fayose, just a second. Mr. Fayose, we'll come back to you, Mr. Fayose.
Well, Mazino, thank you. You know, this conversation, like he said, has taken so long. So, Mr. Nzeako, I hope I pronounced it perfectly.
Nzeako, yes.
You know, everybody has expressed their opinion as to this has taken so long. So, that, for one, questions Nigeria as to why is it taking it so long to get to the verdict of a matter. That's one. And of course, you're from the southeast, and I believe that you know what the people are saying or how they are feeling. And now somebody has been in court for so long, he will be frustrated trying to fight for what he believes is right. So some people, they're like, oh, he's as an activist fighting for the rights of Nigerians. On the other hand, it's like he's fighting against the federal government. How do you think this would have been best resolved? Because based on Mr. Isaac, he's saying that they would have found a better way to use Nnamdi Kanu as a Nigerian, which is he's also a British citizen as well, that I've been told. So how do you think this would have panned out for Nigeria? I understand that there's no sentiments for law, but once you put a bit of doubt in law, then everything can go against you. So how do we navigate from here?
In criminal trials, you have to prove the allegation beyond reasonable doubt. From what my colleagues have said, there has not been any proof beyond reasonable doubt. Let me extend the examples given by Mr. Fayose. Professor Banji Akintoye leads a Yoruba separatist group. And the group went to Ibadan, headquarters of Oyo State, and hoisted the flag of Yoruba nation at the parliament and at the government house. Some people were arrested, and the next couple of days they were all released. So what does it tell you? It tells you that there is selective justice in Nnamdi Kanu's case. Courts in Nigeria, Federal High Court, Court of Appeal, have asked that this young man be left off the hook. In fact, the Federal High Court said that he will even be paid compensation. Federal government refused to leave him. Federal government refused to pay him compensation. Federal government illegally kidnapped him. When they say extraordinary rendition, the way you understand this is a government involving in a kidnap of a citizen from Kenya to Nigeria. And that was condemned all over the world, including Nigerian judicial system. So at the end of the day, what does it tell you? It tells you that I agree with Dr. Amadi that it is It is an injury against the Igbos. And that sentiment is not only sentiment, it is reality. When we talk about marginalization, we talk about deprivation, now it has come to the level where the issues that have to do with the Southeast becomes given a different treatment, even over and above the provisions of the law. So if you even want to restrict yourself to the issues of law, why would a citizen be kept in detention for 10 good years? Once a citizen takes his plea in court, he is taken to correctional center. The SSS custody is not a correctional center. It is not a prison custody. It is a punitive environment, just like a police cell. So it has a lot of difference. So why would he be kept in SSS custody? Why? And for 10 good years, he has been kept in such solitary confinement. As a matter of fact, some people even started becoming afraid that the terrible dehumanization of Nnamdi Kanu was enough to affect his mental balance. So I completely disagree with the judge. If part of his judgment was anchored on emotional sentimentalism of Nnamdi Kanu's behavior in court, because he has seen perceived injustice done on him in all aspects of this trial. And that is why we call this a travesty of justice. And the Nnamdi Kanu's matter is a very big sore point on Nigeria's political environment and Nigeria's existence as a nation.
Let's talk about
Very,
that
very
political
sore
environment, because we have a very interesting input here that we have to put. It's a tweet that we're going to be reading. While we're getting that one ready, I just wanted to say, Dr. Amadi and also Mr. Fayose, after I read this, I'm going to be expecting your comments on this. And this tweet is from the Minister of State for Foreign Affairs. And of course, we know who that is, Bianca Odumejukwu. And I'm going to read parts of it, not all of it. It says here, I have just returned from Zanzibar, Tanzania, where I have been for the past 5 days at the NTAC monitoring exercise. She goes on to say that the sad news of the conviction and sentencing of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu on terrorism charges, this is not the outcome we anticipated, she says, nor prayed for, but a reality that is now upon us. She goes on. There comes a time in the history of people when there is need for calm. I therefore advise Ndigbo and Nigerians as a whole that such a period is now. There is utmost need to exercise restraint in response to this situation. All actions which could be deemed incendiary and which might escalate the situation at home or in the diaspora should be curtailed. A word is enough for the wise. She goes on, there's so much there captured inside of that tweet. You might want to find it and read it yourself. But it carries a lot of weight, even if it's calling for calm and restraint. Mr. Isaac Fayose, I wanted to ask you, what do you think about this tweet? It's the first we've seen from someone in authority, and especially someone from that region. What's your take on it?
Oh, well, the tweet speaks for itself. You know, come on, the Igbos have been marginalized. Look come on, how do we explain this judgment after 10 years? How? How do we explain this? No, well, I said they should be calm, but, well, they are calm, but you are calm in the face of injustice, and it's going from generation to generation to generation. Abba, when are we going to correct this? When are we as a nation going to correct this? How can we be in sin and expect His grace to abound? A nation in sin and is expecting development, is expecting growth. You are telling a whole region, just stay calm, don't worry, stay calm. And now they've transferred the guy to Sokoto State. Abba, Igbo man, Igbo prisoner sent to Sokoto State. Is that, come on, how do we explain this? How? Kidnappers, bandits, you rehabilitate them, put some in our army, put some in a good position. But this guy, for 10 years, can't you say, oh, you've been here for 10 years, go out, go and see no more. So now you are, how do we explain jailing this guy for life? How? I don't know how to explain this. To be honest, I feel sorry for the Igbos. I feel so sorry for them. I feel so sorry for my country because we are not even ready yet. We are not ready yet.
Mr. Fayose, thank you. Dr. Sam Amadi, what do you think the consequences are going to be, especially noting that we are beginning to have people of note come out to tell their displeasure about the eventuality of that ruling?
I think Bianca is trying to save herself because the first aftermath of this judgment was some kind of status of traitor. People started on Twitter and said, this woman's a traitor, deal with her, whatever. So this is self-defense, and it's a good one to say, you know what, I care about this. Whether she cares is a different thing. Second is that, look, I issued a video that's gone viral saying, Southeast people, this is what this means. It's political. It means that you guys need to organize politically to chase out the current governors and those who are replaced, but they failed you. Now organize themselves to go back to Ebara days, to Ojukwu days, strong leaders who will fight Nigeria for you. That's the point. And so whether my advice, Dr. Bianca, to say, don't do violence, the Southeast will work, I don't know. This is eruption. It will boil in the underground before you know it, it escapes. I think that, look, Buhari brought Kanu to Nigeria in an extraordinary way. Tinubu finished the job. So maybe they're going to wait to see if they can get a political capital from it. So maybe then the election, they try to do something. But the truth of the matter is, look, the danger is not to Nigeria. Yes, Igbos may feel cheated now, but imagine losing for generation the citizens who feel that their country hates them. How can you build the human capital? How can you mobilize the national consensus for development? The problem is that these elementary pedestrian issues around identity and belonging is what we are doing in an age of artificial intelligence, where we should be mobilizing all our effort for national transformation. It's painful that the idea that the Igbo man is not loved, is hated, is not willing to have equal right, persists for decades when we should be one country driving development. So I sit back and say, everybody loses here. Igbo citizens go with a sense of deprivation, a sense that they don't belong, and an anger to fight Nigeria. Nigeria loses the support of, wholehearted endorsement and support of its citizens. Look at the veterans in America, working hard to undermine what government is doing. Will you perpetually live in a household divided by your own inability to provide justice? Look at the fact that Southeast has only 5 states, others have 6, 7. Look at the fact that they don't have any federal presence in terms of any parastatal headquarters. Look at the fact that they don't even have seaport, all this. Look at the fact of years of civil war. Look at the fact that reconstruction has failed. And you keep on adding kerosene and matches to that situation. I think it's total lack of leadership of the current government and everybody involved to think that punishing Nnamdi Kanu in this manner and 10 years trial, it fails every idea of free and fair trial. And then doing it in a manner that creates for you, population. My daughter, my children telling me, it's like Igbos are not wanted in Nigeria. It's something that creates a chilling effect on me. I say, look, if these people grow up with a mindset that their country hates them, in the age of IT, technology, think about the next storm we're going to have. It
Very
is
worrying.
such that can create clone and blow everybody up because they feel angry. It is a sad time, and our leaders are not thinking about it.
Now, Mr. Magaji Ibrahim, can you tell us from the legal part, do you think that this ruling has closed the case legally, or you think there's still an avenue for, appeal or defense?
Of course, the matter can go on appeal. If appeal is a constitutional right, Nnamdi Kanu can appeal the judgment, not just at the Court of Appeal, down to Supreme Court to get justice if he perceives that injustice has been done. But beyond all these expression of sentiment and the rest, which I expect that it will be addressing the public, I think it's the trial of Kanu is not about the Igbos. I do not believe that it's about the Igbos, and I do not believe, I am not a politician, I am a lawyer. But I think the narrative should have been Kanu is being prosecuted. There are other people who probably have committed offense, close to his own or worse than his own, why are they not being prosecuted? They should also be prosecuted. But for us to argue that because he's an Igbo man, he should be let to go, or he should not be faced, he should not be prosecuted in court, I do not think that should be the narrative.
Yeah, but
because
Mr. Ibrahim,
express our sentiment.
Mr. Ibrahim, I want to say something about that before you go too far regarding the sentiments that this would lead to outside when it comes to social constructs. Now, if you're saying that this is not about the Igbo, well, yes, you are correct, but that's not what people out there would think. You are a schooled lawyer, you know the law. People out there would not, in fact. So they are at liberty to go with feeling. And I think that that's much of what Mr. Fayose has been trying to express here, and the reason why we actually had him on. Considering that, it would seem that, like you said, it is no longer about the crime that was committed, but it seems like it's about the people. We've also seen people from this region start to come out and tell how displeasured they were about it. And it also seems to shift from it being about the judiciary, but then to the ruling government is what it seems like, as if there's some sort of influence that they have on the case. Why are we seeing all these, and how do they play into the dynamics? Should it be considered, should it have been considered when the sentencing was being given, Mr. Ibrahim?
Yes, so you see, that is why, when we talk and we're addressing the public, we want the public a duty to put the facts straight. I am not in any way happy that anybody will have to suffer injustice for any reason. But what I'm saying, it cannot be looked at in that dimension. And then we cannot be even saying that the Igbos is about the Igbos. It's not about the Igbos. I think it's about Nigeria. It's high time we understand that we have come to stay as a nation. And if something has gone wrong, even if the person is your brother or from your tribe, I think it's about, the discussion should be on what the issue is, not on where he comes from and the tribe he belongs. So my point is, we owe the public a duty. Of course, while the narrative has gone in this manner, it is the duty of the media and the duty of the lawyers who at least understand the law and the operation, because it will be unjust. Even if we keep talking about the judge having done based on sentiment, those this and that, you will never have the judge coming to address the press to tell you his own part of the story. So we are saying, my point is, if we perceive that there was no justice in the judgment, I think all we need to do is to explain what should be the solution. The solution is you appeal this judgment. And if we all believe that the judgment was not done according to law, was not given according to law, the Court of Appeal will look at this and set it aside. Severally, even if the Court of Appeal is wrong, the Supreme Court is there to look at it. So my point is, the public should be made to understand that the judiciary has a duty. Once a matter is brought before the judiciary, and the judiciary is not God, it's manned by a human being. The judiciary can make mistakes. That is why even the law itself decided, we have the trial court, we have the Court of Appeal, and we have the Supreme Court. The trial court is manned by only a single judge. When you go to the Court of Appeal, you have 3 justices who will look at it in a different dimension. When you leave the Court of Appeal, you go to the Supreme Court. If it is ordinary matter, you have 5 justices of the Supreme Court that will sit on that appeal. And if it is a constitutional issue, you have 7 justices that will sit on the matter and look at it from every dimension and angle to see, was justice done at the trial level? If justice was done, good and fine, they affirm it. If justice was not, they will set it aside. At times, they even give recommendation for the discipline of the judge that sat at the trial level. So we are saying that is the legal solution. It's not about sentiment. It's not about our personal opinion. It's not about what we feel, and it's not about the Igbos. It's about Nigeria.
Thank you very much,
the judgment that was handed against Nnamdi Kanu is a bad judgment, it affects Nigerians, not the Igbos. So my argument and my position is, should we have a situation like that, we look at the issue at stake. Was he wrong in any way that the government has arrested him and prosecuted him? Yes. Was the trial right? Okay, if you believe it's wrong, appeal it. Are there other people from other sessions, like some of my brothers have been mentioning, Gumi and the rest? Now, our focal discussion should be, the federal government, you have arrested and prosecuted Nnamdi Kanu. We have seen a situation where somebody comes to the public, declare of the public, and is making some other inciting statement that have the tendency of promoting terrorism in Nigeria. in the person of Bumi or any other person in our opinion, why not extend this same thing to him? I think that should be so that we stay as a nation and we build our country together. We cannot all the time get it right, but we can always struggle to get it right and do the right thing.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ibrahim.
On this, I listen carefully, but I do not want to join in the general position that it is about the Igbos. No, it's beyond the Igbos. The Igbos are part and parcel of Nigeria. The Igbos are also constitutionally entitled to all the privileges and the rights of in Nigeria, like any other tribe.
Right.
All right, Mr. Magaji, I'll take that as your final take. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Ibrahim. Mr. Sam Amadi, can you please tell us, briefly, what your final take on this will be?
The learned SL can say what he's saying, as if trials have no history. I told you I was a lawyer in Ken Sarawa's case. He was tried by Ibrahim Aouta, and he said this one should be hanged. He told me personally before the trial, before even the judgment, because he's challenging Nigeria. Look, we've seen political trials. We've seen Rivola trial, Nelson Mandela. Yes, it's not about trial. The decision to prosecute one person is a political decision. So I challenge his thesis that it's not about the Igbos. He is painting this beautiful picture of the law. I teach jurisprudence for years. The law is this clear something, but that's not true. We're here in this country. We are somebody who came forth, became number one by the Supreme Court. Which court, sir? Which Nigerian judicial system? The exercise of the right of Attorney General to withdraw cases for public policy, is there. So if the government took out that case, for example, and settled politically, it's still part of the legal system. I don't want to go to the judge personally, but clearly, if you look at the case, I think he got a lot of things wrong. I don't think the Supreme Court will say so. But the point we're saying is that don't talk law as if law is independent of society. That's why we have laws, the social theory of law. Law is about perception. The law says rule of law is not just what we do, it's what people perceive the court to be doing. So if you put somebody 10 years behind DSS, there's no law that says DSS can hold somebody, and the judge cannot say no. Or even the Boko Haram terrorists who are self-confessed are in prison, and you put that person in DSS cell, you harass his family, you harass his lawyers, you make his lawyers look like cheap. When you like, you allow them to see him. That's not justice. Look at the guy who killed Charles Kirk in the US. The system is open. He is treated like every other accused person. Once you are accused before the court, you already control the court. But when the court now panders to DSS, panders to state security against one accused person, a state advocate comes and says, you know what, it's law. No, don't. Look, thank God, I studied law at Harvard Law School with a PhD in law, taught constitutional law, practiced with Ghanaian, practiced with Sabakoba. I wouldn't take that to say, oh, because he went through a law. The Nigerian legal system itself is at the level of highest discredit itself, the court itself. So let's not come and pretend as if we've got this beautiful legal system and our lawyers and judges are even well trained, understand the laws. No,
all right, Doctor.
Read the judgments.
All right, Dr. Sam Amadi.
Don't. So I have to be very clear that yes, it's a Nigerian trial, but the political undertone is actually assault against the Igbos. And we've seen several cases of
noted, Dr. Sam Amadi.
So I don't take those kind of pools, from people on television.
Noted, sir. Noted, sir. But let's come to the studio here and ask Mr. Nzeako what his final take would be on this.
I want to ask the learned SN to point one Nigerian, just one, that has been treated the way Nnamdi Kanu has been treated. Just one. Across these geopolitical zones of the country. Mention one person that has been given the kind of inhuman injustice system that Nnamdi Kanu has been given. And if he says it's not about the Igbo, it's about who? What is the offense of Nnamdi Kanu? When has verbal insult become a crime? I said it in 2021, that we have what is called law of thought. If you insult me, I take it as a civil offense. President Muhammad Buhari, out of his wicked heart, converted civil offense, civil thought to a crime. Even the declaration of IPOB as a terrorist organization is overbearing and overboard and very criminal-minded by government. Because the real criminals are, why would government convert or rebrand terrorists as bandits? Why? because terrorism is an international crime, but banditry is a local crime. And that is why they try to keep away countries that want to come and attack terrorists. They convert them to bandits. It was Buhari's government. And it is the same mindset that the government of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has followed. Very unfortunately, when Tinubu was coming, I thought and I hoped that he would be able to right the wrongs of Buhari. But I am so disappointed that he has been unable to right those wrongs. He's very disappointed.
Well, Mr.
Very disappointed.
Nzeako, apologies, but we have run out of time, but we still have one final take to take. Mr. Isaac Fayose, please, your final take on the entire issue.
Brother, they said justice delayed is justice denied. Nnamdi has been denied justice long time ago. Long time ago. How can he be on a matter for 10 years? 10 good years. So he's been denied justice long time ago. Look at a guy. There was a guy in Nigeria. There's a guy in Nigeria, Ndume's case. Worst case used to supply arms to terrorists and all that. Ndume is out now. Ndume was arrested after Nnamdi Kanu. I think is in justice to Southeast, is justice to the Igbos. And I hope appeal court can do justice on this matter. In a country where we have our judiciary singing on your mandate we shall stand. I don't know if there's any hope, because I saw them this week singing on your mandate we stand. Judiciary, please stand on people's mandates, not on a political party or on one man stand or on one man mandates.
Right.
This injustice against Igbo must stop now. It's moving from generation to generation. It started from my grandfather to my father, Ojuku said. Now it's moving to us. Now our children are watching. Let us stop this injustice once and for all.
Wow.
Kanu, our heart is with you. God will set you free.
Wow.
Thank you guys for having me here.
Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. Mr. Sam Amadi, Mr. Magaji Ibrahim, Mr. Isaac Fayose, of course, Mr. Fred Nzeako. This was really an amazing conversation to get to see the light from both the political side, the legal side, and of course, socially,
General
and of course,
opinion.
and the indigents of the Southeast. We appreciate you guys joining us this morning. God bless. Thank you.